Today we're going to talk about the two structures that individuals often have missing from their retirement plans. Now, when I think of retirement plans, I often think of a plan like a house. And so you have the three pillars, and you also have a foundation. Then you have the roof, right? Okay, so the three pillars, most people are familiar with the three pillars. Government sources, CPP, OAS. You have private savings. When you think of private savings, you have TFSA, RSPs, etc. Right? You have non-registered also. And then we also have employer benefits. Suffered from an employer, that you're looking at a registered pension plan, which may be a defined benefit and defined contribution. And we'll speak about those at later dates. Right now, I'm just laying out the framework. So a lot of people spend a lot of time here, and they do everything they can to build these things out. And they ask questions about them, and they try to be as informed as possible about maximizing RSPs or maximizing TFSAs, or when should I take CPP, or how much will I get from OAS, or if I have a plan, can I commute, should I commute, how much will I get. A lot of people spend a lot of time here. However, most people don't have the foundation in place, which are the values. And the values it's just having clarity about what's important to you. What's important about having all these things? Is it that you want to use your assets while you're alive? Is it that you want to leave a legacy? Do you want to live in another country? Are you going to spend part-time working? Are you going to volunteer? All of those things are things you consider, because depending on what your values are, it may shape or may alter how you're allocating these assets, right? So what this does is bring clarity, and the clarity brings awareness, and that awareness creates choice. And that choice acts like a GPS when we're building this plan and we're putting this together. Now you might be saying, what's the roof? Well, the first one is risk management. That's literally, as the name suggests, we're managing risk, right? So, for example, you have emergency fund. We talk about insurance. Again, we're protecting from risk. Whether it be life, critical, and this is obviously depending on your situation. Because the thing is, if you do not have a proper risk management strategy in place and something happens, it's going to immediately come in and it's going to start affecting all of your assets here, right? And a lot of times what it's going to do is private savings, it's going to start eating away at it if you have no roof. Consider a home. If part of your roof isn't in place when you have a storm, or if you have some type of crappy weather outside, whether it be snow or a tornado or whatever the case is. If you're not protected with a roof, then everything inside starts to get disturbed, and you start to lose things that are inside. So consider that without a proper risk management strategy, that's exactly what you have here. The other one is asset protection. And asset protection is really protecting from creditor claims, right? Now we live more and more in a litigious society where, quite frankly, anyone could sue you for anything. So what you want to do is, where you can, protect your assets. And sometimes it's simple as having the right beneficiaries on the right assets. And if you're not putting in place or at least considering asset protection, that might be problematic. Okay, so you might be wondering, what's this thing in the middle here? It's tax minimization strategy. right? So, for example, what that looks like deferrals, tax deferral. It looks like income splitting, even though it's not as available as it once was. Tax shelter. We're talking about spreading, income spreading. We're also talking about tax credits, right? So tax deferral, this means you're not getting taxed now, you have a plan to get taxed at a later date. Splitting, which means you have an income allocated to you, but you use a strategy and it's not only taxed to you, it's taxed to a family member in most cases. Then we are looking at tax shelter. It's protection from taxes that the government decides that, you know what, certain things you need to protect against. For example, TFSA, life insurance. Huge examples, great examples of shelter. Spreading, which simply means that instead of getting taxed all in this year, you spread the taxes over different years. And then you have tax credits, which means that you may owe a certain amount, and if you have a proper tax credit, then the amount you owe this year is actually lowered. So when you put this all together from a host perspective, what you find is that a lot of people spend so much effort building these things up. This is your hard, daily work is spent on these things. You're working, you're qualifying for a CPP based on how much contribution you've made, or you're working at your private, at your job, or even your business, and the money that you earn, you're putting it in these accounts. Or you work for a company, I get certain benefits, and usually what that's based on is how many years you've worked and your income, and then you walk away with a certain defined plan, whether it be benefit contribution, and this is all because you put a lot of hard work here. And what we often forget is just simply putting the roof on. And if we don't have the roof, what happens is if we have some type of storm or some type of incident, then we just eat away at all of this stuff, and it comes in and it starts to damage everything that's in place. Think of your house without a roof. What happens if there's a snowstorm? What happens if there's a tornado? What happens if there's rainfall? What happens if there's too much sun? You just need protection from everything, and if you don't have the proper protection, then you start to lose these amounts, and that's exactly what happened when you don't have a roof. So again, I see a lot of people place a lot of emphasis here. But what you need to also have is firm foundation on what's important to you about saving all this money. What are you going to do with it after all? What's your plans? What's your long-term goal? Start with an end in mind. And it doesn't mean that it's going to stay the same way. It may change over time. And also, while you're building these things up, all your assets, you want to also consider, what am I going to do to protect them? What am I going to do to minimize my taxes where possible? And we're doing this legally, by the way. And also what we're going to do to protect ourselves from risk, right? So having this structure in place provides for an efficient retirement plan, and hopefully this gives you some insight into the approaches that you should be taking. I'll talk about the different strategies at a later date: asset protection, tax minimization, risk management, and all these other things. But hopefully this was helpful, because I know a lot of people spend a lot of emphasis here and not nearly enough on their values, which is the foundation, or on the roof. Thank you, and hopefully this was helpful. Take care.